Welcome to Dig It, a real estate podcast by Hubble Realty Company.
All right, welcome everyone. My name is Rachel Flint, and I am Senior Vice President of Iowa Homebuilding and Land Development Operations at Hubble Realty Company. So thank you everyone for listening today. My guest is Kyle Clarkson. And so Kyle Clarkson started in real estate just around the same time I did, maybe a couple months before me, about 20 years ago. And Kyle has been a realtor in the Des Moines community and has sold a lot of homes. And so today I just kind of want to talk about Kyle's journey in that real estate over 20 years, what's happened in the Des Moines market, and what he thinks is going to happen in 2024 and beyond. So with that, welcome, Kyle. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. A lot there, so let's do this.
Yeah, all right. So you and I kind of grew up together, so let's talk a little bit about how did you get into the business? Because you kind of come from real estate royalty, so to speak.
Yeah. My grandfather started in real estate a long time ago. I don't know when he opened his first official business real estate company in Des Moines, but well before I was born. And then he brought the Century 21 franchise, I think it was in the 80s, to Des Moines, which then sold a couple times. And my dad's been in real estate for 40 plus years. I've got an uncle that's 40 plus years, a sister. And so it's kind of family business. When my dad was getting to real estate, he asked his dad, my grandfather, if he thought he could make it in real estate. And my grandfather told him, no, I don't think you can.
Oh my God.
He did it anyways. And I had that same conversation with my dad, and he thought I could. So
anyway,
that's nice. It was
so
a little different response.
Turn a little positive into generations. That's good.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out what to do with my life, and I'm like, well, if these guys can do it, I think I could too.
Yeah.
So,
What were you in before, just out of curiosity?
I worked at a church. I was a youth pastor for 5 years. And
you look like a youth pastor.
I looked even more like one 20 years ago.
I bet
so
you did.
Yes. Yeah. A little goatee and the whole bit. So
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So you got into the business. Okay. So what brokerage did you start out at?
Well, it was not really a choice of mine at the time because everybody was at Coldwell Banker. So
everybody being your family.
My family.
Okay.
Yep. My dad, my uncle, my sister were all there, and so it was a natural time to just join that company, and that's what I did in 2004. And I was there for, I think, 11 or 12 years.
Okay, that was a great time for Caldwell. That
Absolutely
was the Carolyn
was.
Helllinger days.
That's right.
Gosh.
A lot of the big builders were there at the time, and you had Chad and Danielle and Tammy and Daryl Bresson and. Yeah, a lot of.
And Hubble was
there.
there.
And Hubble
too.
was there. No, I'm not. Yeah. I was thinking of the agents in our office.
Right,
so
sure.
Yeah. But yes. Yeah.
You did have a lot of great agents there. That's amazing. So you were there 11 years, and then so you broke away from the fam.
Yeah, there was a lot of changes at Coldwell at the time. So they broke away from the fam.
Yeah.
I won't go into the drama of that.
That's
but it was
the family group that owned Caldwell
franchise. Yeah. And so most of my family was not there anymore and probably thought, well, it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And so I think that was 2015.
Okay.
15 or 16, somewhere around that time.
Yep.
That I actually had taken a small break. Not from real estate, but I did real estate training for 3 years at Coldwell Banker.
Oh, nice.
So I think it was 12, 13, and 14, or 13, 14, and 15. Three of those years I was full-time, not selling a little bit, not much, but just, learning the business. And
what kind of training did you do?
I trained, most of my training was new agents, both pre-license and post-license. And then I taught law and ethics and everything in between. So, which was a great time for my business.
Yeah.
I spent the first 11 years at Coldwell, and I learned like the sales side of it thing. My dad was, knew the scripts and knew the sales side. And so I learned that. What I really hadn't learned up to that point was running a business. And as I started training people and teaching people about real estate, like I felt like I had to take one step ahead of them so I could actually teach them.
Yeah.
And that's where I, started seeing guys like Brian Buffini and Tom Ferry. And
I love Buffini.
And so saw all that real estate coaching. I'm like, well, this is more than just sales. It's actually a business. And that really transformed me as a real estate agent and not just being a salesman, but really trying to grow a business. And so when I left Coldwell and I went to Century 21, that's my focus kind of changed at that time in my career.
I think it's so important because I think when people get their real estate license, they go through the training. It's like 60 hours plus an additional buying and listing practices and the pre-law. I think I think people kind of think that they're going to be taught how to sell during that, and they're not. It actually just teaches you how to not break the law.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, that's right. And I was meeting with someone yesterday who was not licensed. I'm like, I don't want to tell you not to worry about this, but like get through it.
Right.
Because honestly, the law stuff, when they actually run into an issue, they're going to come to me or they're going to come to the broker, and we're going to help them through that. But you still got to do that. You still got to learn it. But actually, your business and selling real estate, that's not there.
It's totally different. It's
Yeah.
completely different. And I often found that in new construction agents, back when we used to list our homes with outside realtors, just getting them trained on new construction, and that was in and of itself very different because and just because you've got a license doesn't mean you know everything about how to sell that product.
Absolutely.
So hats off to you for that. So then you left Caldwell and you went to Century 21. Tell me about that experience, because that's almost like coming back to where your grandfather started, correct?
That's right. It was it's funny because as I looked at it, my grandfather started Century 21. My dad was a trainer at Century 21, a regional trainer, and he was a broker at Century 21. And then I stepped in and I did training for Century 21, and I was a broker at Century 21. So it was kind of a full circle and kind of fun to live that. And I learned a ton, and that's an amazing company with amazing people there, and great leadership, and really for the first time kind of learned the business side of things. And so the timing of it with where their focus was as a company and me, I got into coaching at the same time with Tom Ferry. I've had the same real estate coach for over 7 years. He's Javier's his name. He's in Las Vegas, and like the timing of it, all of that at once really helped propel my business.
So does your coach have you read any books? Like what are some of the best business books that you've read?
Yeah. I mean, I had one of my agents ask me best books, and I listened to them, because you're in the car all the time.
That's right.
So I pulled out and just started reading through, 5 or 6 books that had impacted me. But being on the spot, I'm going to pull my phone here and I can pull some. But yeah. So I have a goal to, I have one book a month. I do audio books, and so you subscribe, and then
Audible, yeah.
And so you got the program is one book a month. So that's my goal. Yeah.
Awesome. So what are you listening to right now?
Well, I went away from the work side of things, and I'm listening to a book, Silo, because I watched the show on TV.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm like, well, I want to listen to the book because now the season 1 ended. And so now I'm listening to that book.
I couldn't get into that. I wanted to it's kind of gritty and dark.
Yeah, it is very dark. But I got hooked, and I'm like, well, I want to know what happens next. So then I'm listening to the next book that happens.
Yeah,
so,
great.
Anyway.
Great. Okay, so you left Century 21 then. Tell me about that, and where'd you go next?
Yeah, so, the Century 21, again, amazing company. When I joined, I was an individual agent, and then I hired an assistant, and then I hired a buyer's agent, and it transformed, over the last 5 years into, I've got a couple employees, and we have 15 agents on our team, and it's as amazing company it is. It's certain structure of real estate makes teams a difficult thing. And we had gotten to the point where we just were kind of in our own corner and doing our own thing. And it just made sense for us to go do our own thing.
Right.
And so we explored other models, we explored other companies. And in the end, we're like, okay, we're going to go to EXP. Makes sense. EXP is a company that's really built for teams specifically. And so we did that. We put our head down and we're like, yeah, this has been great, and probably wouldn't have left other than some opportunity came up mid last year where I started, exploring other avenues. But again, nothing negative with EXP as a company.
Sure.
It was all positive things there. We were our own thing. We had our own office. It was just us.
You guys were jamming.
Yeah,
sure.
And we had an amazing year. It was. I told them if we sold 300 houses, then I'd take them all to Vegas, and we ended up with 360 some pending and closed, and so I took them all to Vegas.
Did it all stay in Vegas?
It all stayed in Vegas. We haven't talked about it since we've been back. So
I just went to Vegas and I came home with COVID.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Not everything stayed in Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, we had one that came back sick, maybe a couple of us, but yeah.
Okay, so you left EXP then
Yep.
and started your own.
Yep.
Talk about that, because that's pretty exciting. You're on your own.
Yeah.
You're the guy.
Yeah. It was a different route. And so when it was middle last year, when I had a couple people ask me about opening an office in West Des Moines, or out that way at least. Our office is in Ankeny. And so I'm like, oh, that's a cool idea. And we started exploring it. And at the time, I'm like, wow. I remember coming back to the office after having an initial conversation, and I'm talking to Adelina, who's our operations manager. I'm like, well, I'd probably say, nothing's probably going to come of it. Well, something came of it. And conversations continued, and I started exploring it at first at EXP. Well, I mentioned earlier, EXP is an amazing place for teams. So if I'm a team, it's a structure in a company that works really well. There's things like rev share and, just their splits, and everything financially makes a lot of sense. They live in the cloud. And I explored it, like, can I do this at EXP? Well, the problem is I don't think that EXP is probably an amazing place for individual agents. And as I kind of went down that path, well, I knew some of the agents that I thought we would be recruiting and partnering with, and they're not teams, they're individual agents. And so I wanted a structure and a company that would allow us to be an amazing place for teams like my own, and also be an amazing place for individual agents. And that's where we explored, and we started having conversations with LPT, which is a company that started in Florida a couple of years ago. They've now over 10,000 agents, fastest company to get to 10,000 agents. And just at 2 years now, and now they're in 25 states. And I was in Austin, Texas at the Zillow conference, and started talking to Robert Palmer. He's the founder and CEO of LPT. And I knew at the time I was thinking about that, and we had done some Zooms prior to that, and had some good conversations with him, and felt like this is a great fit for me. It's a great fit for teams. It's a great fit for individual agents.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So you've opened your doors January 1st?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And how many agents do you have now?
Yeah. So we were official in the state of Iowa probably December 20 whatever. My team went over shortly after that, end of December. We opened our office. I had an office in Ankeny, but we knew that probably wasn't going to last long. And we opened our office in Clive, and it's 12345 University, so easy to remember.
That's great.
Right by Green State Credit Union and OP, the other place.
Yeah.
So right between those, and so we opened that in January, and I think it's been 9 weeks, and we went over 80 agents this week.
That's great.
Which feels pretty exciting to do that. We have a goal of 100 by June 1, and we're certainly pacing for that number. So
that's great. Well, it sounds like I was going to ask you, if there's a realtor out there, why would they sign up with LPT, with Legacy? And it's really because it's great for teams and individuals. Is that right?
Yeah, that's perfect. So we're Legacy Realty of Iowa. We're you got LPT, and then we're Legacy, the local part of that. And so for a team, it's an amazing setup because they do have things like rev share. They do have things like stocks. So you sell houses, you get shares. And so there's this sense of ownership within the company. If I'm someone who has a team and I bring agents, they're giving me some of that money back, which is an amazing model. It's why EXP has had a ton of success. Where EXP didn't is everybody pays for that rev share. Well, LPT is given a model where you can choose to be part of the rev share or not. So of the 80 agents, we have 5 that are participating in that rev share model. And then we have 75 that are doing what's called their business builder. And it's just you have a cap. It's very low cap. And once you pay that cap, you're done in your anniversary date until that kicks in for a year. And so it made it easy for us to have this Legacy Realty of Iowa where teams, it's an attractive model for teams, or as an individual agent on that, from a financial standpoint, a much lower split. And then the burden was on us to say, okay, how can we create something somebody wants to be a part of? Because it's not just about, hey, I can save money, I can do it for less, but I want to be part of something that we think is different in the Des Moines market. My buddy Colin, who's at LPT as well, one of the things he talked about is like, Des Moines is the sea of sameness, where you got a lot of the same companies, a lot of the same models, and we wanted to be something different, and think we've accomplished that.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk Des Moines market.
Yeah. Okay.
The resale market has been not a lot of listings.
Yes. Yeah.
So talk to me about that, and what do you think is going to happen here?
Well, I mean, interest rates obviously are driving a ton of that. I think as rates, we hope. I used to feel like I had a good sense of what rates were going to do.
Yeah, me too.
And now it's like, I don't know.
No.
Who knows what they're going to do?
Right, you just wake up and you go,
Yeah,
like,
what are they today? Yeah, exactly. and so, obviously if rates come down, it's going to pull people off the sideline. But there is a shortage. There's shortage new, resale, whatever, but resale especially, it's so low that right price listings, they hit the market. I mean, we wrote one, it was listed at $100,000 and there were 27 offers.
Oh
and
my gosh.
My people bought it for a lot more than $100,000, but we had another agent with our company listed one in Windsor Heights that was $325, and there's escalation clauses. And so that stuff's still going on because there's just nothing out there.
Wow.
And so we need inventory, but I think rates are going to drive that if we're going to get any more resale inventory.
So do you recommend an escalation clause? And is that something that you would say only on resale and not new construction?
Yeah, the beautiful thing about new construction, and we sell a ton of new construction, is you're usually not competing.
Right.
And so when we're having that conversation with a buyer, it's like, this is the product, this is the price. Now, builder's not going to budge off that. They might, have a few incentives or whatever, but that's the price. The beautiful thing is I don't have to have an escalation clause, and most of the time it's not going to be a multiple offer situation. So I kind of know what I'm getting on that, and without going over that number.
Yeah. So what's your take on the new construction market? I love hearing brokers talk about what they're seeing in new construction.
Yeah. New construction's filled a void. I mean, new construction always does, but even more so when, what are there, 2,800 something homes for sale on the Des Moines market now, and probably half of those are new. And
1,300, yeah.
Yeah, 1,300 are new, and a lot of those probably aren't even finished, ready to go. And so there's not a ton of inventory, resale or new, but what new is provided is, well, I actually want houses to be able to show. And so I want people to be able to look at homes, and new construction has allowed us to do that. So we're appreciative of, builders like Hubble, obviously, and other builders that build an affordable product, because that's what resale is missing, an affordable product, and new construction stepped in and definitely offered that.
Not easy to do.
No, yeah. I don't envy Hubble or anybody trying to build, with the interest rates the way they are, and, prices and cost of construction and all that. But, yeah.
It's a delicate dance, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But no, when you have good realtor partners such as you and your team, it makes it much more enjoyable throughout the process.
Appreciate that.
So So what do you think is going to happen in 2024? Because I know personally, when I've done the research and gone back in the Des Moines market, typically in an election year, it's kind of down.
Yep.
And surprisingly, we saw that in 2018, which was a midterm election year, and it was very contentious, and we had a down year in 18. So we know who we're getting in 24.
Yep.
Right? We know these old guys. I'm just going to say it.
Well, should we go down this road? No, I'm just kidding.
I wish there was an alternative, but I can't have Aaron Rodgers as a VP, so I just can't do that. But my question is, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think the election is going to play a part in this year? What do you see happening?
Yeah, we never know. This was a conversation with my real estate coach, yesterday, and he was talking. He's like, his opinion was, we're going to have a strong year. We get October, and that election is on people's minds. He's like, you've got to have an amazing first three quarters, because he doesn't feel that fourth quarter, is going to, because of the election, will be all that great. I don't know. What I know so far is it has been a really good year. It's been a great start to the year from where we were a year ago. We look, my assistant was sending numbers. This was on February 28th, so a couple weeks ago now, but we were at 87. I think it was 87 or 78 pending and closed on February 28th. Well, March 28th of 2023, we were at 87. February 28th of 2024, we were over 120.
Yeah.
And so we're almost 1.5 times where we were, and we're a month ahead of that. Mm-hmm. So this year has been amazing. 23, end of 22, 23 was such a slow start. Right. It's been at a pretty exciting pace so far, and we'll see if it continues. But
knock on wood.
Yeah, feels like it will, but that's where we're at. So
yeah, that's great. So what advice do you have for people out there who maybe wanted to purchase a home. I would recommend new construction
Yep.
because it's easier. But
Yep.
if they wanted to go resale, what are you telling people? How are you preparing them for this process? Because it sounds kind of nuts.
I think people had this impression that prices were going to go down, and they haven't.
No.
They haven't gone up at the rate they were going. But if you're waiting for prices to go down, that's just not going to happen. And so as prices go up, the longer you wait, the more expensive that house is going to be. You know, and interest rates are what they are, and I would love for them to come down, but I don't know, you know,
Right.
and I think eventually they're going to come down. And so I know that if I can get the house I want now, then eventually I could refinance and maybe get that payment down a little bit. But I think there's going to be a sense of just getting used to interest rates where they are. And I hope that number where we get used to is closer to 5 than 6. But, you know, I think if you really want to own a home, because rents aren't going down. I mean, they're going
No.
up. So I still think it's an amazing time to buy a house. And
Yeah.
you're just going to be paying more if you wait.
I think you're totally right. And we tell our buyers that quite often is, you know, if you want to wait, if you think prices are going to go down further, probably not. But if you wait, what's going to happen is everybody else is waiting. And so once they get into the market, guess what? Then demand spikes further than what it already is.
Yep.
Costs are going to soar. Manufacturers take advantage of that all the time. Like that's how business is done. It's a supply and demand issue. And so when demand is higher, you will pay more at the end of the day. So what's that cheesy saying? Date the rate, marry the house.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Because, you know, rates hopefully will come down. But I was talking to a developer 2 days ago, and he was talking, and he mentioned Hubble in this too. Like, hey, there are deals ready to be had if rates come down. Here's the problem. Rates come down, all this happens. What happens? Those prices, I mean, they're going to go crazy again.
Right.
And we don't want that. And we want a balance of that and finding that rate that works where we keep the market in check. And yet, you know, there's people that are like, okay, now I'm ready to sell my house. And I know I had a 3% interest rate, but I could live with a 5.
Yeah.
If that's the number, I don't know, but we'll find out.
I think my first rate was like 6.
Oh yeah, mine was a 5-year ARM, and it was 6 1/4.
Yeah.
That felt really good.
I know.
Everybody told me it was good. Yeah.
That's funny. There are people listening who probably were like, oh, it was 20%
Yeah.
in my
Oh
day.
yeah.
But, you know, if you want to look at rates, just look at where your credit card rate is.
Yeah, that's right.
That'll tell you, put that into perspective for you. Okay, so we're going to wrap up here, but I have to do an off-the-rails question. So this is like a randomly
Nervous.
generated question.
Okay.
It's super easy. It says, do you have any nicknames?
Oh yeah, I do have nicknames. My first nickname was Gris, and that came from the movie Christmas Vacation. That was Clark W. Griswold, and then my high school friends, it went from Clark W. Griswold to Gris, and so.
So wait, you were Griswold in high school?
Yes,
buddy.
We're dating ourselves a little bit here, but yeah. So my high school friends from Ankeny, still, if they see me, they're like, "What's up, Gris?" And
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, that was the first nickname I had.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, I want to give you an opportunity. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to say? Get out there.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about the real estate market, and you can listen to the news and hear what people are saying, but it's just there's a lot of activity, and prices are not coming down, and rates may not come down. I think we got to get used to it, but there's a lot to go around. We talk about abundance, both for real estate agents and builders. I mean, there's a lot of builders, but there's so many people in Des Moines now that are, you know, they're looking for housing, and whether you're a real estate agent or builder, I think there's a lot of opportunity,
Right.
a lot to be excited about.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much
Thank you,
for taking
Rachel.
the time. So good to see you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right. Take care.